Hey, what's going on, everybody? We have just crowned the new 2014 NBA champions, the San Antonio Spurs. Tonight's game, I would say, was a decent game. I didn't expect it to be a blowout the way it was, but then looking at Game 4 and the way the Miami Heat came out and played, and the troubles that they had in their own arena, I knew going back to San Antonio it was going to be an issue for them. And one of the reasons why I think Miami really didn't show up for the finals in this series is because they weren't faced with a lot of adversity. When we look at the Eastern Conference, pretty much the only two teams that might have gave them a run for their money would have been Brooklyn or the Pacers. But when we look at the Pacers, you had Roy Hibbert that really didn't show up for a lot of games, and they traded Danny Granger, which I thought was a huge mistake. And they just weren't the same team they were last year. Then it came down to the Heat in Brooklyn, which I thought was a disappointment on Brooklyn's part because they really didn't show up for a lot of games, and it really wasn't a competitive series. Granted, Brook Lopez wasn't in action, Darren Williams wasn't 100%, and then you had Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce that didn't show up for a lot of games, because of their age. It caught up with them, and when you start to get in your season years of being a professional sports figure, sometimes your skills demise, and you're not as consistent as you was when you were 25, 26 years old. But it really was an easy slide for the Heat. So when they got to the finals and they really had to face a team that was not only, had a certain type of feeling about them because of last year and the outcome of last year's finals, I don't think that they really were prepared for that. And then we had a lot of players on the Heat that, they really were kind of hiding behind the scenes, really wasn't giving 100%. And I think they were able to be hidden and slide through basically being a half-ass player because they weren't faced with any adversity within the Eastern Conference. But when it was time to actually show up, give 100%, show up for those games, they couldn't do it, and the Heat really got exposed for that. And Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili, those guys, they just collectively they come together and they deliver on the court. And then you had the young guy out there, I forgot the brother's first name, but his last name is Leonard. He showed up tremendously, played his ass off tonight. And that guy, they're smart. They will renew his contract because that guy, he's something that's going to be reckoned with in years to come because you see the development that this guy has and what he contributes to a basketball team and just how he handled LeBron James. He really gave LeBron James a challenge. But, overall, I thought it was a fairly decent series. It wasn't the most exciting, but, it was what I expected. I didn't get the games right because I did when I did my prediction. I predicted that the Spurs would win in 6, and I did think this series would be a little bit more competitive. But like I said, the Spurs and the genius that Popovich has with constructing the defense on the court, it was just too much for the Heat, and they weren't ready for it. But that's pretty much my 2 cents on this series. Good series. I'm hopeful and I'm excited about what's going to happen next year because you got a lot of people who might get bumped around and traded, and LeBron James is a free agent at the end of this season too. So that's interesting to see what's going to happen with him and what type of decisions he'll make. Which, me personally, I do think he will stay in Miami, but hey, you never know if the opportunity calls to be somewhere else or the money's right, he could possibly leave. But you guys give me your feedback on what you felt about the playoffs in general and the NBA Finals. And was your prediction on point or were you off? But I'm out. Peace.